Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, and a fine Libations Friday to you and yours. Loosey-goosey. I'm Jeff. That is Director Matthew. We are online, ESPNTallahassee.com. We are also on YouTube. Thanks for watching if you're there. If you want to email, you can. JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. You can find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. It's a good day. You know why it's a good day? Well, it's Friday. But it's also a good day. I did something. This is twice. So Matthew and I were talking before we came on the airwaves here that you get to a stage in life and it's like a pit stop. You're coming in to the pits and they got to check you. They got to make sure before they send you back out into the world that you're all right. And I don't like the process. I don't, because those phone calls and messages and emails that you get from a doctor's office are reminders that you're entering into the part of your life where things tend to go wrong. This is where, now, on the one hand, you go in, so I had my physical recently, and you guys know that once you get past 40, though physical is a lot of fun. I mean, physicals were never good anyhow, but they're especially not good once you get past 40. They start too much probing and the like, and you become uncomfortable in a hurry. I made my doctor laugh, by the way. This may make you all a little uncomfortable, but I knew earlier this week when I went to the doctors that they were going to do the test, that everybody is aware of. And it's necessary. You got to stay out in front of these things. But it felt like we were doing a little dance. Felt like, hey, he's asking me about, my wife, because she also sees him as her primary care physician. So it's not weird. He knows her, so he's asking about how she's doing. And then he asked me about my kids. And we both knew we were just kind of staving off the inevitable. And I'm watching him closely, watching his hands. And we're having a conversation, and he says, so, how's your diet? And we're going through the levels from the blood test and where everything's at, Well, really like your cholesterol. You're in good shape there, Would like you to lose maybe 5 pounds. Looks like you've been working out, though, so, that's good. And we're having all these conversations. And the whole time I'm thinking, you know what you have to do. And I know what has to be done here.
And I don't know if you're like me, but I would struggle with that, doctor, because I'm just like,
let's go.
We all know. Yeah. We all know what we're doing.
We know what we have to do.
Let's just stop with the chit-chat.
Yep. I wanted to walk through the door with my pants around my ankles and just say, well, let's get this out of the way up front. If you want to talk to me about my life afterwards, by all means. But let's just get this out of the way. But no, that's not the way they do it. They test you for everything under the sun. And you await those tests. And then at the very end, the reason I said I was watching his hands, I didn't think it was going to be a sneak attack. But that would have been something. But the reason I was watching his hands was I wait for them to open that cabinet above that sink. Because I know what's in that cabinet. That's where the gauze is. And that's also sometimes where the lube is. And you just think, okay, once they open that cabinet, there's no coming back. And I did make my doctor laugh because somewhere along the way in the chit-chat, I said, let's just get this over with, and stood up off the table. And he laughed. Not on the table, but, you're on that makeshift bed-type seated thing. And I stood up, and he laughed. He goes, okay. He didn't want to do it. Nobody does. It's very unpleasant. So it happened. Everything went well. He said it's a very, very healthy. You're good. I said, okay, that's good to know. But when I'm leaving there, then he wants to give me a shingle shot, which I talked about yesterday. Knocks me on my ass. I get the shingle shot. It worked well. I feel fine now. But anyhow, then he says, listen, not for nothing. There are a lot of different levels in ways we can check for plaque and certain buildup and all that around your heart. We want to make sure that we're not going to have any problems down the line, Want to make sure that everything is all right. You don't appear to have any problems, but you never really know. So let's, they do these things, Matthew, where for executives, pay if you want, I'm sure if you're about to be the head of a company, they'll pay for it. But I'm not about to be the head of a company, as much as I'd like to believe that. So if you want to get the executive heart test where they do everything they possibly can to test your heart, it's $2,500. I mean, they are putting you through your paces at that point to see that this heart is in good working order. Now, I'd like that. I want that test. Give me the $2,500 test because I want to know that I'm going to be here for my kids. So that's the whole thing. It's really, that's the deal. But when he told me that you got to throw down $2,500 on the day of the exam, I was like, well, why don't we do the one that's just below the $2,500? I can do the $2,500 test, but it does put a crimp in my style for a few weeks. It's not like I've got a kind of a surprise trip planned for the kids, and it involves flying, and that's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So he says, yeah, there's another one, and that's the one most people get because it's reasonable. And he goes, and to be honest with you, it's the one I would get as the doctor. I said, really? He says, yeah, it's pretty much the same test minus like one or two little things, and it's $250. Oh, so the $2,500 thing is a screw job. Yes, it is. Okay, thanks for the honesty. So we're going to get that done. The whole point of leading with this is that I walked through the doors today fresh off of a phone call for a CT scan for my heart for this appointment. And every day this week, there's been some sort of, all right, you've made it this far. We're very proud of you. Before you enter into that second wave of your life where things do tend to go wrong and we've got to stay out in front of it, let's check all the boxes. Let's make sure you're in good shape. So they do all of those things. They schedule all these tests. And the next thing you know, you're just addled with 6 or 7 doctor's appointments for the next 2 months. And one of them, unfortunately, is going to be a colonoscopy. Damn it, man. And I've got to shake that to come on air and talk to you guys about sports. It's a toughie. It's a toughie. But it's the chosen profession, and it's a good one because it's also something that you can have fun with. And it is escapism. It's one of the reasons we love sports. And I would also note that I woke up in a great mood this morning because not only did I get the opportunity to stay up late last night, late into the night, watching the Open Championship, I woke up to do the same thing. That's the best part about this championship. Is you go to bed watching it, and if you stay up late, I did last night. I don't know why. I think it's because I slept the whole day away from the shingles day, the day before. So I got like 20 hours of rest. And I was wide awake last night, and it occurred to me there on the Peacock that at 1 o'clock in the morning, they've got live golf. It comes on. It's sort of the slappies that are going on there. It's not best players necessarily, although pretty early on we ended up seeing Tony Finau on. So, and he went -4. He played well. So I may have a little pizza money on Finau to finish top 10. So that was a good day for Tony. Now, I went and looked, and I was like, oh, this is live. My wife's like, why is the TV on at 1:30 in the morning? I said, because the Open Championship is being played. That's why. If it was being played at noon, we'd be watching it then. But this is the deal. So she wasn't happy with me. I watched that, got up this morning 5 hours later, and started watching more. Colin Morikawa dominate the line. Let me give you a background on this, by the way. This is where I get excited about my other job, or it's all broadcasting. But I have had the good fortune to work. You guys know this because I bring it up a lot. I'm proud of it, and I'm just excited. It's a fun thing. I have had the good fortune of working at SiriusXM for 5 years, so a little over 5 years now, on the SiriusXM PGA Tour channel. And you get to know so many great people, and you learn so much about the game because that game has never been my primary focus, whereas, say, football over the years, and this show, for example, would be. You feel like you kind of have a good feel over the years for football. You watch so much of it. I play it. You're immersed in it, and you get to know people within the game. So you compare notes, and you get inside information from those that cover the teams across the country, boots on the ground. Next week's the ACC kickoff. I'm sure, I'll have an opportunity to call David Hale or Andrea Adelson and others, and get a sense for what they're reporting on. Also, our own guys in town, of course, who do such a great job. And so you're immersed in that world, but the PGA Tour channel has allowed me to be immersed in that world. And it's opened things up to me. And Trey Jones, who is a brilliant golf guy, and, of course, the head coach at Florida State, he's done such an amazing job. And I've watched, and we're friends, and it means a lot to me. And he's got a great family, just a wonderful, wonderful guy. I've watched the emergence of these guys that came through Florida State. You know, to watch a Brooks Koepka and a Daniel Berger, and lately, how about Hank Lebioda and, you know, all these guys, and Jonas Blixt, and it just all through the years. I remember interviewing Drew Kittleson when he qualified to play in the Masters as an amateur. And, of course, Drew came on the show, and Trey walked with him at the Masters. I got a chance to walk at the Masters thanks to Harry, and we did all that stuff, right? Well, one thing is you end up getting an opportunity to talk to coaches all across the country, because our focus a lot of times is on collegiate golf, but also the PGA Tour. And I have had a chance to talk to coach after coach, and it could be a trainer for a player, it could be a head coach at a university, you name it. But Walter Chun is the head coach at Cal. Okay, he is the head coach at Cal, where Colin Morikawa played. We have interviewed him more than once. What a sweetheart of a man. A brilliant coach, but also a really, really good guy. We've had Colin Morikawa on the show. I spoke to Colin Morikawa along with Trey Jones as he was dominating in his college career. And Trey was very early on, because he sees the best. Obviously, we've had some of the best in the world come through here. Trey was big on Colin Morikawa. He said, wait till you see, because we played against them. I've watched him in person. He's first class. He is first class across the board. Now, he was talking about a touch of class of his game, but also the mental makeup and the quality of person that he is. We look for people to root for, and as our heroes of the game begin to fade and leave the limelight, Tiger Woods is broken. I don't know if he'll ever come back and be to golf what he has been for all of us. It doesn't appear likely, right? I mean, that last one seemed to be the last straw. But who knows? I wouldn't count him out of ever coming back, but certainly he's not going to hold the place that he did in golf. And so there is this vacuum. There is this need to fill that. And we've got a lot of great candidates. Jon Rahm is obviously a great candidate to do that now that he's got a major in the bag, and certainly the game to go with it. And I think he's got a great flair and personality, and he's an interesting guy and seemingly a thoughtful guy. And there's a willingness to talk, which is important. You have polarizing figures, and I'll get to them in a moment, in Bryson DeChambeau. You've got, obviously, the Brooks Koepkas of the world, who are also polarizing and fun for us in this region to root for or to root against, but certainly to follow as a Knoll. Daniel Berger and others. But the young guns, as they're known, that came through. Jordan Spieth is playing great again. That's fun to see. But this young group that came out firing, and I'm talking about Viktor Hovland, I'm talking about Colin Morikawa, Matthew Wolff, and others that joined the tour. Those guys have a lot of confidence, and there's no backup in them. It's all about whether or not they can handle the success, because they're not afraid to come out and shoot low scores on the PGA Tour. These guys come out swinging. Nobody's giving them permission to go low. They go low day one, not afraid. One of the reasons for that is that college golf has advanced to a place where they play on these courses, PGA caliber courses. It used to be in yesteryear that wasn't the case. So there was a massive adjustment when you left college, when you were no longer an amateur playing collegiate golf. You not only stepped up against the elite competition in all of the land, you were now playing on courses, the likes of which, in terms of challenge, you had never seen before. You'd never been put to the test the way that these guys are now. These guys play the best courses in the world. They get invited to play U.S. Open courses. They get invited to play, think about Riviera, wherever. They go to all these places and play these events. So they get a real chance to see what it's going to be like. So if they come out there, the adjustment typically has more to do with mental adjustments in terms of there's a lot of downtime, a lot of alone time as opposed to when you're on a team. But I bring this up because watching Collin Morikawa today really warmed my heart. He's just a great kid. If you're looking for somebody to root for that guy. Root for that guy. All class, super nice, put together, organized, hardworking, and not afraid. And if he ever putts it, that's the whole thing. If he ever putts it consistently, look out, because there's not a better ball striker on the tour. He is a ball-striking Jesse. That guy with an iron in his hand, one of the best 3 ball strikers in the world at 24 years old or whatever he is, that's remarkable. But it is something to watch him hit an iron. So, his problem is he doesn't always putt it real well. And, that's the funny thing we think about players in all sports. When you begin to break down players, it's relative, but you look at football. We've had a lot of conversations lately about Florida State and where Florida State's at. It's not that the kids here can't play relative to the competition that they've got to get to where they need to be to compete for championships. That's where we say, yeah, they're lacking. They don't have upper crust talent on this roster right now. The guys that are out there, though, are still elite football players. They're just not in that 1% that the Alabamas get or that Clemson has and Ohio State have gotten. It's hard to get those kids, and that's what we're fighting to do. And I guess that brings me to a point here. I was thinking about some of our conversation yesterday with the football team, and I'm still buzzing from that because this month is, for me, going by very quickly. And before you know it, you're going to wake up. I mean, we're entering into another weekend. You're going to wake up, and it's going to be August. That is so damn exciting. Next week is SEC, ACC, Media Days kickoff. It's on, guys. We're there. We made it. We pretty well made it. We pretty well got there. This is the last weekend where you won't have football-related news, really. I mean, there's some because of the NFL ramping up and how close we are to the Hall of Fame game. But you're going to get both. You're going to get college and pro football news pretty much starting next week from that point forward to the end of the season. It's go time. What a way to start a Libations Friday, thinking about that. Jeff Cameron, Show 97.9 ESPN Radio. I would invite you over to warchant.com to read Irish FL's most recent article, Mixing All These Ingredients will be Norvell's next big task. That from the managing editor at warchant.com, Irish FL. Read that piece earlier today because I do find that topic interesting. It raised eyebrows right off the bat when they decided to send McKenzie Milton and Jermaine Johnson, along with Jordan Travis, to the ACC kickoff. Two of the three players have never played it down for Florida State. So you send two guys that have never played for you to go to the ACC kickoff. It's an indicator of the lack of talent that has been on this roster, that transfers are ending up representing the school for whom they've never played. But at the same time, I think it's the right move. I suppose you could have brought Devontae Love-Taylor. You could have brought Jashawn Corbin, both of whom have played, if you're looking on the offensive side of the ball, if you wanted to bring somebody in there. But I also think, Jordan Travis is obviously a slam dunk guy because of how much he played last year and how electrifying he was with the football in his hands when he did play. I mean, he was really one of the few bright spots. And then I think McKenzie Milton being the most high-profile player on this team makes perfect sense. I mean, this is a guy whose feel-good story will grab a lot of attention in a positive way for Florida State. I think one of the interesting points Ira makes here, and it's a good one, it's salient, is that it's nice bringing players that cannot talk about the 3-6 season you just had because they didn't play in that season. It's nice to have guys that can't answer those questions because if you want to shut down the reminders that they were awful a year ago and that they haven't been good in a while, well, have press members ask questions to guys who were not here to experience that. That's how you're going to shut that line of questioning down in a hurry. I don't know. I wasn't here. No idea. Doesn't affect me. And good. We don't want to wallow in that. We're all very aware of what just took place a season ago and what we're hoping to emerge from. And I think, too, that, you think about a player like Jermaine Johnson that you're bringing in a real leader. This is a guy that when you talk to him, and I've said this a lot, ever since meeting him and talking with him, I really came away very, very impressed. And then to look at him, obviously, and then think about the spring that he had. He was really, really good. He was impactful every day at those practices and in the spring game itself. But he's a guy that I can tell you, if you're looking for insight, if you want context, here's a guy that has accepted the leadership role because he could have gone to a lot of places, many of those places, and this is true of McKenzie Milton as well. I keep wanting to reiterate this point because I think it's important in trying to get a gauge on who our head football coach is. He got two guys that could have gone just about anywhere. Two guys whose abilities would have allowed them to go to a place that is winning and winning big. I'm not saying Jermaine Johnson goes and starts at Alabama, but he could have gone to a lot of places that are a lot further along in the rebuild process. In fact, maybe on the cusp of being a playoff caliber team, and they would have welcomed him in. He was productive at Georgia. It's not like he didn't get on the field in the mighty SEC and not produce. He did. So even though he was a bit of a role player there, well, Georgia's recruited as well as anybody in the country, so that makes sense. But there are about a handful of teams that do that at best. Everywhere else would have said, come on down. So why did he come to a place that went 3-6 a year ago? Why did he come to Florida State that hasn't had a good season in 5 years? That would be one Mike Norvell. McKenzie Milton, by the way, again, services sought after. Who doesn't want a quarterback with his experience and production, his leadership, the intangibles, those things that players talk about whenever his name is mentioned, right? It's one of the first things that come up. You see the ability. The numbers are there. We've seen him play against elite competition and put up numbers. So he can play. But it's so fascinating to me that when you talk to the players at UCF and you talk to the players that have been with him and know him, that comes up, but so does the leadership. So does the desire of those players to play for him. So that said, that's a desirous quality for a coach to have at the most important position. Therefore, the doors, once the medical clearing happened, once he was cleared to play, once it was shown that he could play, that knee would be okay, albeit with a bulky, kind of wonky brace that he has to wear right now, once you saw that was cleared, well, he could have gone anywhere. I mean, everybody needs a quarterback of that caliber. Everybody would want a quarterback who's put up those numbers. Everybody would want a quarterback that has those intangibles, those leadership qualities, those things that are mentioned by the actual players themselves, as well as his coaches and friends and parents and those that have interviewed him. I spoke with Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com, about that story. She was on the field the night, she was in the box the night that injury occurred. She's followed his story and written about it extensively. She talks about the quality person and hard worker that he is and the leader and all those things. So it's almost universally agreed upon. Why did he come to Florida State? Why did he come here? That's Mike Norvell. Again, those kinds of accolades, those kinds of superlatives and descriptors of your head coach does not necessarily mean he's going to go out and win 10 games this year the way we all want him to. Does not necessarily mean that Florida State, within 2 to 3 years, will be competing to win the Atlantic Division. They have a long road to hoe, but I do think they're indicators and signs that bode well for the future in a big way. To get yeses from guys like that could have played at an elite level anywhere else that was further along in the process, both and or in rebuilding or competing for existing, opportunities to win championships. So to me, there's just been enough positive signs from players themselves, not wishful fans, not hopeful media types like myself, but the players. The people that know those guys best, citing the head coach's ability to be honest with them, to speak openly and honestly, and still demand from them hard work and leadership, to have expectations of those individuals and not acquiesce and kowtow to what they want to hear, but rather tell them what is expected if they say yes. That brutal honesty and straightforward approach to having a conversation in which you're trying to win over the heart and mind of a player that could seriously impact your on-the-field product is a really good sign. It shows an awful lot of confidence in the process and the product that you're putting out there, meaning your acumen for the game, your X's and O's, your coaching prowess, clearly they bought into. But in addition to that, the way you challenge guys, the way you talk to guys resonates. And oddly enough, we already had that evidence. It was quickly lost in a series of missteps, a global pandemic, and a roster that couldn't win. But if you think about it, one of the indicators that he was that guy that I'm describing now and that has been further reiterated this offseason or affirmed this season, he got Marvin Wilson to say, I'm coming back. He got Tamorrion Terry to say, I'm coming back. And those two guys were seen as pivotal to whether or not Florida State could have any success last year. Now, again, this is before COVID hit. This is before they were absolutely decimated by not having a spring, not having the ability to install and really kind of change the hearts and minds of the existing players in the locker room and all of that. But at that time, getting yeses from those guys was considered a really big deal. And understandably so. Those guys had been jerked around and really not seen their careers go the way that they had hoped, and yet he got them to say yes. So to me, again, I think there's a sincerity there. There's an authenticity there. There's an ability to persuade and to convince that's going to be very, very key as they build this roster. And this roster, that's the story I'm referencing on warchant.com, is made up of an awful lot of transfers. 7, if you will, of the 22 starters that will take the field this year for Florida State, combined offense, defense, are likely to be guys that didn't play here at all last year and, in fact, are transfers. That is a lot. That's a third, right, of your roster that is going to be out there now, never having suited up for Florida State. And on the one hand, you're excited to flip the roster and to raise the level of play. And on the other, it's a real indicator of the work that has to be done and how far they still have to go, because the fact that that was even a possibility suggests that he surveyed the landscape and went, oh, no, I don't have the guys. We can't win like this. I mean, look at all of the guys that he brought in. And my only complaint, if there is a complaint, is that I would have attempted, I think, to do something a little bit more dramatic at the linebacker position in the way of transfer portal and all of that. I think I would have, in the same way that they're hyper-focusing on offensive linemen, which they have to do, the way that he went and attacked the defensive backfield with not only recruiting but obviously transfers as well, and defensive ends, which was a real big deal. But again, you only have so many spots. And you got to get what you can get and what's available. And you know what? I mean, some guys aren't convinced. Some guys don't want to wait around. Some guys don't want to assume that leadership role that I'm talking about Jermaine Johnson accepted upon day one of saying, yes, I'm going to Florida State and leaving Georgia. Like that, those guys are kind of special that are willing to take that on, knowing that at best they're going to a bowl game of some kind. So to me, that's it's a very fascinating topic to discuss, but it's also, to me, filled with positive examples of what I think he's capable of. And we've seen this entire offseason kind of be that. It's a good sign. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Harsh on the birds there, Jeff. So really quickly, let's hear this soundbite because next hour I want to comment on this. But this is funny, and he's got to love that he's got ammunition every week on the PGA Tour, and Bryson's just serving it up to everybody. Here you go. This is Florida State's own Brooks Koepka.
Compared to yesterday, I didn't think it was as bad, so you could be a little bit more aggressive. Drove the ball great. Love my driver. It's everything's going really well. You know, I felt like my pace was
okay. You don't even have to hear anymore. That is just so good. Getting the shot in, so well done.
He never misses.
Always. I mean, he's a marksman, but it's an easy target. It's a very easy target. I'll comment on, and if you don't know, that's in reference, well, that shot that he just took is in reference to Bryson DeChambeau complaining about his driver yesterday after hitting 4 of 14 fairways and committing a grievous error in not only showcasing that frustration, but doing so by criticizing directly a manufacturer of said club, Cobra, that pays him millions of dollars and has spent countless hours with their engineers manufacturing the club to his specifics. And I just don't, oh, buddy. Why is it every week? I think I would I'd spend some time this week if I were him after I missed the cut. Is he about to miss the cut? I haven't looked in a while here. Is he teetering on? What is the cut line? I mean, I guess we haven't looked at it in over an hour here. But
last I looked, it was hovering around 2 over, but I'll check on Bryson.
All right. You know, he probably wants to be anywhere but there right now. I don't know. But if I did miss the cut, or even if I didn't, I'd have to spend some time looking inward a little bit here about why it is I'm creating the kind of distractions for myself that don't bode well for me moving forward playing golf. You want to avoid that stuff, and it's not hard to do. You know, just keep your head down, work hard, and play golf. You can answer questions honestly, but you have to have some decorum about you. I mean, good Lord. Moreover, you have to be willing to take responsibility. A couple NFL notes here real quick. Again, next hour I'll comment on that because that was truly unprofessional and maddening if you're a fan of him. I don't know how many fans he has left, but this story is bizarre. One of them is not surprising and really a testament to medical science and the advancements of medical science, and the other is just sad. But we all remember good old Vince Wilfork, right? Huge Vince Wilfork. The other day, I got asked the question of former Canes or Gators that you like, that went on to play and that you thought to yourself, you know, I like that guy, even though he played for our arch rivals. Who is it you like? And I named a few guys. I said that for Florida, I've grown to kind of somewhat from a distance know Jaquez Green. He's a good guy, interesting guy, and named a couple other guys. Wilbur Marshall, I always liked him a lot at the University of Florida, great linebacker back in the day. And so from there, I named a couple of Miami guys that I liked. Andre Johnson, the receiver, always loved him. Beast of a player, really philanthropic, nice guy, kind-hearted. Better angels of our nature you saw from him over the course of his life, giving every Thanksgiving and every Christmas and all the stuff that he did. So I'm a fan of his. Vince Wilfork would have been on my list. Former Cane, big-ass dude, kind of the immovable object. He was a funny guy, too, when he played. This story, not funny. Vince Wilfork's son charged with stealing his Super Bowl rings. What the hell? His son was arrested in May, charged with stealing more than $300,000 worth of former Patriots and Texans defensive linemen's jewelry, including 2 Super Bowl rings. The 23-year-old DeAndre Holmes Wilfork was arrested late May, about 2 weeks after Vince Wilfork reported the jewelry missing, which also included two AFC championship rings and a national championship ring from his days with Miami, the last time they were relevant 22 years ago or so. According to police, Wilfork noticed the missing jewelry more than a year ago when he was packing up for a move from his Friendswood home, but was unsure if he had put the jewelry in storage or left it at his other home in Florida. Credit to Vince that he's not walking around wearing all these rings. if you see these rings, they're incredibly gaudy. They are amazing, and to put them on temporarily is a cool thing, and to take a picture of your hand, or to wear at a special event or some sort of charitable event in which you're showcased for whatever reason. You'd break those out. But for the most part, that's not something you ever really need to put on. My buddy who worked for the Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins now, for eons, won a World Series ring as part of the workforce there with the Marlins when they beat the Yankees. And he still has that ring, of course, and it is something to behold. But it is also an invitation to be shot if you were to wear it out and about. So I always marvel when players have these things stolen because they're on their person or they're with them in a hotel room. Like, why do you have your Super Bowl ring, Mike, with you? What are you doing? Arrogant ass. But Vince didn't. He thought, I don't know. These guys, did I put them in storage? What did I do with them? He had no idea. Are they in a safe in my home in Miami? Gosh, I should probably check because I'd like to know where my championship rings are. After receiving a message from someone who had seen the jewelry listed on sports memorabilia sites, hey now, Wilfork was able to locate the buyer who said he paid DeAndre $62,000 for the rings and has since returned them to the Friendswood Police Department after they were reported stolen. DeAndre Holmes Wilfork arrested by the police there and released on $300,000 bond. That young man was dismissed from the University of Houston's football team after he was charged with drug possession 5 years ago. That's a toughie. Of course, Wilfork, for his part, played 13 years in the National Football League, including his final 2 with the Texans before retiring after the 2016 season. So that's one story, and that's not a good one. Here's to one that is a testament to the medical advancements that I referred to earlier, and that is that we found out Tom Brady played the entire season last year with a torn MCL in his left knee. The entire year. He suffered the injury in his final season with the Patriots. It worsened during his first year in Tampa, according to a report from the Tampa Times. He was not listed on the injury report all season, underwent surgery to repair the knee just after the Super Bowl. He has not discussed specifics about the surgery, saying only it was pretty serious. He suffered a torn ACL, of course, we all remember back in the day, in the same knee in 2008, week 1. You know how I remember that one? I drafted him. And that happened week 1. And I went, okay. Well, that, of course, just occurred. Buccaneers quarterbacks coach Clyde Christensen said in June he believed Brady's knee last season was a nagging nuisance and it affected him all year long. Quote, I don't think he was 100% last year. Relaying a conversation he had with Brady the morning after the Bucs won the Super Bowl. His quote, or close to a quote, was, hey, I'm going to get my knee fixed up. I'm going to be better next year, by the way. You'll be excited about that. Brady wore a brace on the knee during the Super Bowl and during the boat parade, for that matter. Wearing the brace is not uncommon for the 43-year-old Brady, who also wears it when golfing and during other recreational activities, like throwing the Lombardi Trophy from boat to boat and celebrating victories. The 7-time Super Bowl winner was named the Super Bowl MVP for the 5th time in his career, throwing for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 31-9, ass-kicking over the Chiefs. He passed for 4,633 yards and 40 touchdowns last year. Oh, by the way, that somehow happened very, very quietly. Because I say that out loud now again, and you're probably struck like, oh, those are really good numbers. Yeah. 43-year-old Tom Brady last year, in his first year in a new system with new players, threw for 4,633 yards and 40 touchdowns.
And that's why I don't believe a single word of this MCL story, and I believe it's a TB12 ploy.
Oh, my word. But what I would tell you is that in the 80s and early 90s, if you tore your MCL or your ACL, you didn't play football. That was the end of the season. There was no coming back. There was no sustaining a level of play. There was no. Now, granted, he plays a position where you could do it because of what they have in terms of these braces and being able to support knees that are ravaged by injury. And that's come a long way, too. But if you had to run, like actually run and be explosive, you could not play. That was going to be the end of your season. If you're a receiver or a linebacker or a defensive end trying to get off the ball and rush the passer, obviously a corner or a safety or a running back, you can't play on an injury like that. But back in the day, not only would you not be able to play and no brace could help you, but that surgery meant you might miss the next year. And that the ability to overcome all of this was seriously in question. Guys' careers ended because of this. So how far we've come now. You know, I had, when I was at Etsu, I had arthroscopic surgery. I had a couple surgeries, but one of them was just an arthroscopic surgery on my knee. And, you know, at that time, it still wasn't a huge deal to have arthroscopic surgery, but it was still something you had to rehabilitate for weeks on end back then. You hear about guys getting arthroscopic surgery now on their knee, and they play 10 days later, 7 days later in some case. Oh, that was not an option for me or anybody else back then. Back then, it was still invasive enough that you were going to have to rehab. It's amazing how far they've come. It really is pretty cool. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show.
And the shining path that leads to God's own dying sun.
number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. Happy Libations Friday. Loosey-goosey. Laid back, having some fun. Thanks for listening. Hope you're going to have a great weekend. If you're on YouTube, hello. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Great day at the Open Championship. Update you quick. Louis Oosthuizen out there firing a cool 65 a day after throwing up a 64. Suffice to say, he feels very comfortable at the Open. He's at 11 under, and your leader, there's still guys on the course. I'll update it later. I pulled this up before we even got started, so I think this is an hour and a half old. I should probably pull up a new list.
Just a note for Louis' major rounds. His position on the leaderboard after his last 9 championship rounds: T1, 3, T2, T1, T3, T1, 2, 1, 1.
And he's won how many of those events?
Probably none.
None of them. Yeah, some numbers out there on that just blow me away. I don't think he's a choker. I don't mean it that way. I do think he's been lacking. He would tell you that he should have closed a few of these. Look, there's no shame. Jon Rahm went out and took it and made 2 incredible putts. And Jon Rahm is, a beast. I think Jon Rahm's going to win in his career 5-6 majors. I think he's that kind of a player. I think he's that good. But I do think, and speaking of Jon Rahm today, he went out and answered the call after shooting at 71 yesterday and threw up a cool 64 today. Well played, sir. You've positioned yourself to have a shot on the weekend of at least competing. You got to go low again tomorrow. But this leaderboard, you're talking about guys in the clubhouse right now. Louis Oosthuizen, Colin Morikawa, and Jordan Spieth, 11, 9, 8, respectively, under par. This is firepower, man. This is fun. And then a whole host of other guys that are in it, including Brooks Koepka, who vaulted up the board today by shooting a 66. I mentioned Jon Rahm. I mentioned Tony Finau, shot a 66 today. Paul Casey shot a 67 today. He's right there. Dustin Johnson has awoken from his slumber and played very well. Scotty Scheffler has played very, very well. Cam Smith, Brian Harman, just big names. It's okay. Okay, this is interesting. This is shaping up to be an awful lot of fun as we head into Daniel Berger, by the way, Florida State's own as well, with a good round of golf today, a 67, finds himself 3 under. So, how far back is too far back? If you're -3 or -2, you're 8 or 9 off the lead. I don't know that you're going to make up 9 strokes on the weekend, not without going super low tomorrow. I would guess you're going to have to fire in the neighborhood of a 62 tomorrow to give yourself a chance to be there on a Sunday, and even then you'll have to make a charge. How far back do you want to go? You want to say I'll say 3. I'll say that the Daniel Bergers of the world and guys like that have a chance to win the tournament. It's a slim chance. Obviously, you'd rather be 5 or 6 off the lead as opposed to 8 or 9. That's pushing it. Because here's the problem. When you're trying to leap guys, you got to figure. So, like, if you're that far back, if you're Tony Finau, who shot a 66 today, you're 4 under par. You're in the mix. You're obviously headed to the weekend with a shot if you go really low tomorrow. But you're going to have to leap Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Paul Casey, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, Louis Oosthuizen. You see where I'm going? Jon Rahm. What are the chances the names that I just rolled out there? Oosthuizen, Morikawa, Spieth, Rahm, Scheffler, Johnson, Casey are all going to be average on a Saturday while you charge with a 62 to put yourself in position to win it on a Sunday. You could maybe half that. You could put yourself to where thou on a Sunday you only need to find a way to catch 4 guys. Even then, that's daunting, but that's at least doable. 10 is not, I don't think, reasonable to expect, especially because, guys, the weather is good. The weather's been good. what you would need is for somebody to go early tomorrow and suffer inclement weather and back up, and then that weather softens the course somehow, and you go out there and it's not windy and you're firing darts and you shoot low. You could have it happen, and that's one of the elements about the British Open that I hate when it does happen. I don't like that is the one major that they play where the timing of your, listen, there's always an advantage to teeing off. You can usually find the early late or the late early back-to-back days, and you'll be able to discern somebody had an advantage and a disadvantage, but it's usually minimal. It's not something where, if you went off late, early, late, the difference is the weather changed by 25 miles per hour for wind, and there was rain, and all of a sudden the course softened to a place for one group but not the other, that it's a 10-stroke difference. But that does happen at the damn Open. It cost Tiger a major. An Open championship. The one year he shot that 80, he would have won the championship. He was great the other 3 rounds. He got screwed. He got caught up in that deluge, that freaking hurricane. He'll never complain about it, but that one has always pissed me off. I mean, he's going to win that tournament. Didn't he go like 80-67 or 82-67? You're like, crazy-ass outlier, swirling winds at 40 miles per hour. It's frigidly cold. You're like, Jesus, these guys are out here dying. Fun, though. When you get it right like this, when it's just steady, I get excited about stuff like that. I get pumped. I got nowhere else to go. I did the thing that I would tell young broadcasters not to do, which is to completely disregard everything you'd prepared to say, go off on a tangent about what you're thinking about a leaderboard, only to realize there's no getting – you can't just suddenly make a turn and go somewhere else that segues nicely. So there you go. That's what I just did. Here's music.
Here comes the dread and denial. Here's where you've been all the way.
I didn't see these questions earlier. Kevin writes, how many dingers could you hit from second base at the home run derby, if any, in their allotted time of a 3-minute segment? I could hit a lot from second base. I know. Less with a wooden bat, but still a lot. From second base? Oh, yeah. Yeah, easily. I don't know what the number would be, but I think it could probably hit a lot. Now, the answer is 0 from home plate, so I'm not full of myself. I'm just letting you know the answer is 0 from home plate. As far as this other question, Jeremy writes, if you could live as any non-human species, what would you pick and why? I like that, Jeremy. If I could live as any I am always tempted to say gorilla here, but the problem is that my habitat is being encroached upon on a daily basis and soon will be wiped off the face of the earth, and then thus I will live no more. And it's like the same is true for elephants, you know? Like, I'd like to be an elephant. They're smart as hell. They're communal. They have a family dynamic, a social structure. Nobody can mess with them unless they're poachers. People shoot them, but other than that, that's because human beings suck. Other than that, nothing can attack an elephant and kill it. So I want to be something that you can't just roll up on and decide to do something to. Like, if I'm a gorilla, good luck. I'd be a silverback. There's not much you're going to do with me. That's the end of this. This fight's over. But also, I want, the love and caring and kindness of family and social structure and the ability to live as a family unit. It's what makes you want to live now, is the love of others, and those relationship dynamics. Not to get all serious on you, but that's the way I think about it. The only other thing I think about occasionally is, wouldn't it be pretty cool to be a dolphin? They can haul ass, avoid trouble that way. They're smart. They also live in family pods. They have high levels of communication. They play. They spend a lot of time having fun together. They hunt together. They do a lot of things together. But I don't think, now, of course, if you're a dolphin, you probably think it's a great thing. But I would just say, being in the ocean all the time would kind of get old. Then again, if you're a dolphin, you might think living on land all the time might get old. I mean, the ocean is so vast, there's so much to explore, but it all pretty much looks the same. Not a lot of variety when you're in the ocean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go visit the waterfalls like we can here, or mountains like we can here. We can go to the ocean, we can go to the mountains, we can see different continents and what they provide geographically, what the aesthetic changes pretty dramatically, elevation changes, jungle, desert, you name it, very different. The ocean's the ocean, baby. You're just rolling out there in the ocean. There are beautiful aspects of the ocean. I'm not losing sight of that. Maybe that's foolhardy. What's your answer? I'm not going to be a lizard. I'm not going to be an insect. I'm not going to be a bird. Birds are always starving, fighting, hunting, fighting for life. It's just not good. Too many other birds. Even if you're like a big-ass eagle, just not a good thing. No, don't like it. The ability to fly would be cool, but...
You named both my answers. I would have said elephant, because elephants are my favorite animal.
Well, they're beautiful. They're awesome, and it breaks my heart that poachers do what they do.
And I would have said either dolphin or shark.
Like a great white shark,
yeah.
Big-ass great white shark. Here's the thing. I thought about great white shark, but then I changed my opinion. Killer whales. Nothing F's with killer whales, and they kill sharks all the time. So if I'm going to be a beastly fish of some kind, are they mammals? Look up what a killer whale is. I feel like ignorant as hell. Killer whales are what? He's looking it up right now. This is great radio.
An orca is a marine mammal.
Marine mammal. I said, aren't they mammals? I remembered. Yay. Yay, school. Yeah. I'm going to go with killer whales. That's a pretty good one if I got to be in the ocean. Good question. Thank you, Jeremy. Would never want to be anything that is prey. Don't want to be prey. That's why we enjoy on the Jeff Cameron Show having so many conversations about people who die terrible deaths as indeed prey. Not good. Real quick nugget from the British Open. Jordan Spieth's in the clubhouse, 36 holes played with what? What is that? That number, Spieth?
Spieth's at 8 under.
All right, listen up. Interesting to note. Jordan Spieth's lowest 36-hole scores in majors. In 2015, 130. Went on to win. That was at the Masters. 2017, at the Open, 134. Went on to win. It's 2021, 132, the number. Does he go on to win? Of course, Louis and others have a lot to say about it. This is going to be a fun weekend. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. You know what's funny? I'm surprised this kind of thing doesn't happen more often. When you get a chance to catch up on the highlights from Friday at the Open, go check out our friend Tyrrell Hatton, who flipped a bird to a fan in the gallery and snapped a club. Good day at the office for Tyrrell Hatton. I say I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. Not the flipping of the bird to a member of the crowd or the gallery, but rather the snapping of clubs. Golf is really frustrating. It can be very difficult. He misses a putt. He walked towards the hole and then flipped off a member of the gallery who had a reaction to his missed putt that he didn't enjoy. So there's that. It was caught on camera, was in plain sight as he watched the ball rolling towards the hole, knowing that he did not hit the center of the face. There's a hot mic that you can hear. Now, they'll probably, upon replay, make it so you can't hear this, but there's a hot mic where as he's walking towards the ball, Matthew, he says, effing bollocks, which is a great, but he doesn't say effing. And that's where he's walking. This is near the 11th green, and he's walking off the hole. He reiterates that and has a message for one of the fans. He hit an errant shot earlier in the round, and as he did, I saw that, and he was not happy about the shot, and as he walked towards the bag, he snapped the club.
So I have that video pulled up, and what I appreciate about that is most players just try to break it over
their knee real quick, not him.
But he is making sure that this club is broken.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this.
He stomps it out.
Yeah. Puts it on the ground, stomps it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
This club is going to be broken.
Yeah. And it is. And my favorite part about it is as he's stomping it, like he's in Goodfellas, and we're at the bar past midnight, past 2, and somebody's got to go, he walks towards his bag and then shows the evidence as he pulls it up, and it's snapped. Yeah. That's a toughie, man. That's it's one. I will say this: that is not a really good indicator of maturity and or having to check on your emotions at a pretty important event. I mean, it's. If you think about, I'll say this: we interviewed Bones last week, Phil Mickelson's longtime caddy for 25 years, and he suggested to me that one of the keys for a player to get the most out of a round is to not be negative. You can be mad, but you can never be negative on the golf course. And he says that, in essence, if you're mad, that's fine. Be mad for the moment. Hit a bad shot. If you have to, whatever it is that you do to release the tension, drop an F-bomb or whatever it might be, but then you cannot turn that into negativity. It has to. Mad doesn't equal negative. It's a moment where it's a release, but it's on to the next shot. You're going to hit bad shots. It's golf. You're going to get bad breaks. It's golf. You can't. But this is somebody who's sustaining a level of anger that turns to negativity on the golf course. And you can't. I mean, Rahm has had to overcome this. John Rahm has had to overcome this. He's a fiery dude. And I respect the hell out of that. Tiger Woods is really fiery. I mean, they demand a lot out of themselves at the highest levels with a lot on the line, and they care deeply, and I got no problem with that. But when you see guys throwing clubs, I mean, you're a professional golfer. Get the hell over yourself. Stop that. You can't throw a golf club. What are you doing? Snapping a club in half, okay, not a good look. Beats the hell out of hitting your golf bag. Which, by the way, I'll tell you a story. Brooks Koepka at Florida State University hit his golf bag, hit the Seminole head on the golf bag, and was pulled aside by Trey Jones and told in no uncertain terms that'll never happen again. And he said it was the last time it ever happened and that he never showed his emotions like that again. Trey basically said, have respect for yourself, but moreover, have respect for that logo for this university you represent. You cannot do that, ever. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, that's like, because your college golf coaches are on the course with the players. And he said Brooks was kind of hot back in the day when he first got here. He was emotional. He was emotionally charged. On the one hand, you like a guy that cares. On the other, you got to keep that in check. You got to understand how to comport yourself and also what you represent, especially in college. Now that brings me to something else. What you represent. And I am so glad that Bryson DeChambeau yesterday was basically called out by everybody in the world of golf for being a buffoon. You cannot do what he did yesterday and not have there be repercussions. But get this, and this is mad respect for this guy representing Cobra, who is not having it. I suspect this relationship may be fractured beyond repair. We're going to find out real soon. You're not going to find out about it in the middle of the Open. But I would not be surprised if we saw a parting of the ways from Cobra and Bryson DeChambeau. So yesterday, DeChambeau, after a round in which he hits 4 of 14 fairways, is livid. And rather than blaming himself for hitting the ball poorly and offline, he blamed the club face, the driver, the manufacturer. Put him on blast publicly in the press room. Not what you do. If I can hit it down the middle of the fairway, that's great. But with this driver right now, well, the driver sucks. Not I sucked. The driver sucks. That's the quote. He went on to expound about how he's living on the razor's edge and they've been working on it for years and they can't get it right. So now he's complaining about the relationship, the ongoing relationship, and the problems he's had as they go to work to try to make this driver suited perfectly in a way that no other driver has made, I might add, because of his demanding presets. That comment from him elicited this response, some would say drew the ire of Ben Showman, who is a tour operations manager for Cobra Golf. Most of the time, those kinds of guys representing a manufacturer are not going to state anything publicly about their player, the player that they're giving millions of dollars to best represent their equipment. But clearly, this crossed a line to a place where he decided, okay, we'll have to defend ourselves. Here we go. And he said this about that. And by the way, Ben caddied for DeChambeau at the Rocket Mortgage Classic 2 weeks ago. Keep in mind, DeChambeau won the Rocket Mortgage, whatever it was, he didn't win it. He did win it 2 years ago. And they're a sponsor. They're on his bag. They're on his shirt. They're a sponsor. He played poorly and refused to talk to the press 2 days in a row. As the reigning champion of an event, as sponsored by one of his people, he didn't talk to the press. That is not exactly being a great ambassador or gracious champion at the event for your sponsor. So this is now twice in the last 3 weeks we have a guy who's turning his back and whining about sponsors who pay him millions of dollars. Not a good look. Quote from Shaman yesterday. He's never really been happy, ever. Which, A, is funny. It's just really, really painful when he says something that's stupid. That's also awesome. It's very rare when he's happy. I know that if I got him cornered right now and I said, what the hell did you say that for? He would say, oh, I'm mad. That he didn't really mean to say it. He knows how much everybody bends over backwards for that guy, but it's still, man, that's not cool. All right, so
it's important that people understand the amount of hours that these sponsors put in for these golfers, specifically on clubs.
Correct.
To make them absolutely perfect. It's not like he just went into Dick's Sporting Goods and just bought a Cobra
right,
and was like, oh, this driver sucks.
Right.
These are made for him.
They're engineered by engineers, some of the smartest people in all the land, who spend countless hours trying to placate this individual. Well, now listen, that's their job. I'm not saying that they're bending over backwards for no reason. They're paid handsomely, and they are sponsoring him. So Tiger Woods is very demanding on club manufacturers. All of the players are. This is their chosen profession. Millions of dollars are at stake every week. You want a club that performs the way you want it to. Now, there's a difference between a club not giving you the result that you want when you put a good swing on it, as opposed to you're not playing well. You got a hitch in your giddy up. You're coming over the top. You're doing something silly. You get stuck at the down, whatever it might be. That's you. That's a you problem. That's your swing sucks. If you go over to Edwin Watts and you get fitted, one of the things that's really fun about that process is they're going to work with you. They're going to figure out what your swing plane is and what you do. But if you consistently mishit the golf ball, that ain't the club's fault. They're going to tell you, well, we think this club is probably best suited for you, but you're missing the center of the face. That's a swing problem. You're going to need to see a coach. We can't fix that here. We can tell you based on your body type, length, all of that, what you should be hitting or what seems to suit you. We can't make you hit the center of the club face. Either you can or you can't. And if you can't, you need to go see somebody who can teach you to do that. So this, to me, is a guy who is not hitting the driver online because he is seeking to overpower a links golf course, and that doesn't play. There's art to this, and he's not engaging in the art. He's trying to overpower.
Yeah, one of the better comments from players was Justin Thomas yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
He said, never would have thought swinging at 135 plus miles an hour, it'd be hard to drive it straight. You'd think Mr. Physics would know that.
Whoa. That's funny. That's funny. Well, the players, so this is fascinating. I love this stuff. This is a little bit in the weeds, but, you know, we talk about player feuds all the time, and I don't really care about that stuff. There are plenty of guys on tour that don't like each other, but the truth is that's overrated. Let me tell you why. They don't talk anyhow. Man, they're all individual corporations. I mean, there are guys that are friends on tour, sure. But when they get paired with guys that they don't particularly like, they don't care. They're so concentrated on what they have to do, their next shot. It's them and their caddy. Bones told me 2 weeks ago that for 25 years while caddying for Phil Mickelson, he never watched another caddy to see what they were doing. He didn't have time. And that when he became an analyst, he learned, like, there are other ways to do this job, and that it was eye-opening. He's proud of his work, but he thought, that's interesting. I would incorporate that if I went back out there. And he has. When he's gone back out there for Justin or other people, or he does something for the champion, he's thought, that guy does something. That's a good thing to do. But the point is, they were so locked in on their guy all the time, reading body language, reading the room. You got to know, where's his head at right now? Does he need an infusion of confidence? Is he feeling it right now? Do I need to shut up and get out of the way? What does he need from me right now? What information? Nothing? All of it? Something in between? So you don't have time. The point being that if Brooks Koepka is playing along DeChambeau, and it's obvious Brooks hates Bryson DeChambeau, and I think for good reason, or he, at the very least, just really dislikes him. So do most of the guys on the tour, I might add. It would not turn into some Donnybrook on the first tee. It's not going to happen. They're not going to fight. So the deal is this. He would stand off to the side. Brooks would tee off. Then Bryson would tee off. They won't say a word to each other. They'll walk with their caddies 10 yards apart, and they'll go find their ball. And that's what will happen.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit yesterday about the press conferences from the Open. Brooks was asked about that specifically.
Yeah.
About the potential Ryder Cup pairing. And he said, you can put aside anything for business for a week. It's not hard. Like you said, it's not like we're going to go out here and fight.
No, and also, by the way, if there's a common cause, you're both trying to win, whether it's in business or in this case competition. I don't know. It's just you don't think about it. I've been very fortunate to work with mostly people that I've gotten along with, but there have been plenty of people that I don't. That there have been plenty of people that I've thought you don't get it, what we're trying to do here, and you know what? I don't spend a lot of time talking to them. I just come in and do what I'm supposed to do, and let them worry about what they're supposed to do. And if there's a problem, we need to iron it out, then we'll sit down and talk about it. But I don't belabor it, and they wouldn't either. And so that's how that goes. But what I think is interesting about Justin Thomas' comments that you just said there is that players have a great appreciation, well, if they're well-balanced and are able to be honest with themselves. They have a great appreciation for the life that they have and the life that they're able to lead, partly not just because of their hard work, of which there is countless hours that go into this, and they deserve the credit for getting there. They have a talent. They have refined that talent. They have whittled down every second of every day to get the most out of that talent if possible. And that's great. That's good. They have a responsibility to do that. And then they're paid very handsomely for doing it. And when a sponsor comes on board, say like NetJets or somebody along those lines that allows you to fly all over the world and work on your craft to make millions of dollars while also paying you 20, 24, 25 million dollars, the last thing on earth they expect to hear from the player is your product, the thing I'm using, the money you give me, yeah, it's all for naught. This sucks. No, you're a child at that point, a petulant child and ungrateful. And that's why you hear some of that backlash. Lots of players thought that was pretty damn funny. Now, DeChambeau, if I'm going to be fair here, did apologize. The only reason he apologized is because he knows 100% that he was wrong, and he certainly probably gauged the backlash from both players, tour sponsors, the press, you name it, fans. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. Quote, the comment I made in my post-round interview today was very unprofessional. My frustration, my emotions over the way I drove the ball today boiled over. I suck today, not my equipment. Cobra and I have worked together for over 5 years, and they are some of the hardest working people in the golf industry and make an incredible product. Their team is like family to me, especially Ben Showman, who has been there for me every step of the way since I started my career. I deeply regret the words that I used earlier. I am relentless in my pursuit of improvement and perfection. Part of that causes me to become outwardly frustrated at times. With the new speeds I'm obtaining, my game is a constant work in progress, and so is controlling my emotions. Could have done with the last paragraph being completely deleted. If you're smart there, you leave it alone after you say, I deeply regret the words I used earlier. This other stuff is excuse-making at the end. This stuff about I'm relentless in my pursuit of improvement and perfection, so is everybody on the tour, man. So is everybody on the tour. So is anybody who has work ethic and cares deeply about their product and their performance. Don't throw that out there as an excuse. Everybody is seeking perfection or excellence. You know, the part about the new speeds I'm obtaining, get the hell out of here without self-aggrandizing nonsense. So, you know, the other part of the apology would have worked just fine, but he can't do it. He can't do it. It's fun to watch, man. I mean, he's good for the game, but he is eminently unlikable. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. I mentioned that I will not be headed up to Charlotte next week for the ACC kickoff. First time in as many years as I can remember. I've gone every year that I've been here at ESPN, so 10 years, I guess. And it's always a fun time. And one of the reasons that it's a fun time is that you end up crossing paths with people that you really enjoy in this business. You get to talk to writers and coaches and administrators of the various universities that you've gotten to know over the years. Could be, guys that I've worked with at ESPN, guys that write for any number of outlets that cover these teams, boots on the ground guys for the beat, if you will, from the different ACC markets. And one of the time-honored traditions of those meetups is that the way it works, you're there at the hotel downtown in the heart of Charlotte, right across the street from the Carolina Panthers field there. And Charlotte's a real walkable city. I like Charlotte. And there are plenty of great restaurants there. There's this wonderful Irish pub there that I'm going to miss. And one of the places, Mr. Chaffel and I have had a couple of beers at a couple of different places there, and that's always fun. But you meet up with everybody. The consummate professional Tom Block, Keith Jones, Front Row Knowles guys. You meet up with David Hale. You meet up with all of these folks, and you belly up. You belly up, and we compare notes, share stories, have a laugh, reflect on yesteryear, and then talk about the upcoming season. A lot of times you'll glean some insight. You'll hear something from somebody you did not know. But that was the reason, beyond it's my job, typically, that I was disappointed about the inability to go to Charlotte this year, that I was going to miss out on those moments and those friendships and the ability to cross paths and ask how people are doing that you don't get to see every day. But I came to realize something yesterday, Matthew, that if I'm going to miss this year, or I'm going to miss it all, this is the year to miss. I read to you and my brothers in arms out there on their way to Charlotte early next week. Perk your ears up here. You may need to take some supplies. Quote, it's just nowhere. Charlotte restaurants, ABC stores scrambling to find liquor. What? This is a crisis, folks. What is going on here? Charlotte area restaurants and bars, the ones I just alluded to, are reporting outages of popular booze brands like Patron Tequila, Ciroc, Kettle One, Tito's Vodkas, Malibu Rum, you name it, amid a global liquor shortage. Really? My goodness, we've gone too far. This has gone too far. I mean, I understand there's a car shortage. You go on car lots right now. It's hard to find one to buy because they don't have the cars, because the chips in the media centers of those cars aren't being manufactured at the same rate they were. It's the problem in the video game industry. For example, Sony would have never rolled out the PS5 with this sort of stop-start nonsense where you can't even find the console if you want it. That's not how you roll out a brand new product that you want consumers to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on. But because manufacturing of important components of said device are not being made due to COVID, all the shutdowns. But now we're getting into the realm of what allows us to cope with all of these setbacks over the last year. Tongue firmly planted in cheek, I know, but Charlotte apparently has real issues. At Picasso's Sports Cafe in University City, you can't find tequila, you can't find whiskey, and you can't find certain beers. Damn it, man. Their manager, Ken Morgan, no doubt hand-wringing, had this to say to the Charlotte Observer: some of these have just been impossible to get. We haven't been able to stock tequila for months. What in the world? Fortunately, we can get other types of liquor. Well, I do say, I hope, given that you're a liquor store. Oh, don't worry about it, Ken. I didn't come here for the liquor. You got any Pez? I mean, what the hell? What do we... We may not always have their first choice, but we make sure to have a variety of others. That doesn't sound very affirming, does it? You're like, no, we don't have that. We don't have tequila. What about whiskey, Bob? Nope, don't have any whiskey either. But might I interest you in some gin? Well, no, I wanted whiskey or tequila. Gin is a far cry from either. No, I don't want gin. Well, we do have gin. The coronavirus pandemic has exacerbated the supply chain issues in several industries, from meats to materials like glass. There are worker shortages. They're hoping as more and more people get vaccinated, life will return to normal. But during Wednesday's regular meeting of the North Carolina Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, that's a weird commission. What do? I work for the North Carolina Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. How on earth did you get here? There's a chairman. His name is Xander. Seems like a good name. And he's addressing the statewide shortage. We are all experiencing the supply and demand shortage. Hopefully that will resolve itself in time. That's not also that anybody can say that. Like, he didn't glean any special insight there as being the commissioner of the North Carolina Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. They go to that guy, Xander, and say, tell us what's on the horizon. What are you doing to help offset this demand and shortage? What is it we can do? We're experiencing supply and demand shortage. Hopefully it will resolve itself. My neighbor could have said that here in Florida. I mean, that's it. That's bizarre. So, boys and girls, if you're headed to Charlotte, whether you're going to the ACC kickoff or not, make sure you bring supplies, because they don't have it for you there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sweet Jesus, people are a little on edge in North Carolina, I would think. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Interrupting all programs. This is Radio Clash on Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for this week. Thanks for tuning to it. Happy Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the program. As always, it is our pleasure to be with you. Thanks for listening. I'm online. We're online. ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you do go back, get caught up at your leisure. Man, that's fast. Woo! On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. Hello, YouTubers. Nod of the cap to you kids. What are we doing here? What's that? Look at that. Look at this leaderboard rounding into shape. All right. Boy, it all began early this morning watching my man Colin Morikawa not having it. Going to go out here and get after it on a Friday, and it's a beautiful thing to watch him swing a golf club, and he's a great kid. I talked about that earlier, but he's just a great kid and a really fearless player. So we're getting this leaderboard where we want it to be now, where you've got compelling figures and some of the best players in the world. And when you think of I got to tell you, I didn't want to lead with this at the 5 o'clock hour, but I'll say this. I cannot believe the staggeringly impressive statistics of Louis Oosthuizen, who by rights should have 5 or 6 majors. And I'm not even kidding about this, okay? That guy, did you see this stat? He's within 12 strokes of having 5 majors. He has the one. He has finished second at a major 6 times. I think I read, I'm going off of memory here from a couple days ago before the tournament started. But if I remember this correctly, he's lost by 1 stroke in a major. He did earlier this year. To Jon Rahm, he lost to Rahm by a stroke because he birdied 18. He needed to eagle 18. But anyhow, the point would be, I think that he's lost 3 different majors by 1 stroke. And then a few others by like 2 or 3 strokes. And, of course, he has the 1 win. But I think the stat is that he's within 12 strokes for his career of having won 5 or 6 majors, which, if you think about this, puts him in the same category as Phil Mickelson. We would be talking about Louis Oosthuizen in the same, because he's won a lot. Well, no, he hasn't won a lot. I'm sorry, he has not won a lot. Not in comparison to Phil. But if you've got 6 majors, first of all, you're a Hall of Famer instantly. Now, I would argue Louis probably will be anyhow. But, man, it's weird. They did a thing about how that does not eat at him, that he doesn't look at it that way. He doesn't view it that way. On the one hand, you would argue that is extremely impressive. On the other, would you look at that and say he's missing something? I don't like to get into the conversation unless it's abundantly clear that a guy can't close. There are players who have the game to put themselves in a position time and again to win major tournaments, to collect a lot of wins over the course of their career. And then eventually you watch and they fade, and you know why. You know they cannot close. The moment is too big for them. The game is all there, but something's lacking mentally. I always feel for those guys, because to know deep down in your heart that you should have closed 4, 5, 6, 7 majors and just simply could not bring yourself to do it. You got there, you got to the well, you couldn't drink, you couldn't do it. It's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. And all you can do is continue to put yourself in a position. I think for a lot of guys like that, if they end up with multiple majors, it's if they get big leads and they don't have to worry about it. Or if they win on a day where they are kind of out of contention and they go out early and shoot a 63 and then go to the clubhouse and somehow the weather changes and guys back up and they posted a number and they got to win. But having to go and get it on 18, having to go and make that happen, that doesn't, a lot of guys can't always do that. But you feel like once you've done it once, the floodgates will open. And he has done it. And yet you just don't ever feel like he's going to win. You never feel like that's going to – I hate it for him because he's an awesome guy.
He finished second at the 2012 Masters, lost in a playoff.
In a playoff, that one hurt him. That one hurt him bad.
He finished T2 at the U.S. and Open Championship in 2015, lost in a playoff, both of them. He finished tied for second at the 2017 PGA. He lost by 2 to Justin Thomas.
That's what I'm saying. That's all. I mean, even if you take 2 more, just give him 2 more. Now we're talking about a guy who's always in contention because that swing, by the way, absolute art. It is a thing of free-flowing beauty. That's how I want to swing a golf club. I don't have that tempo in my wildest dreams. It is just gorgeous. It doesn't even look like he's trying. It's Fred Couples-like. It's just, oh, there we go. There's a little 1-2 for that ass. All right, let's go find it. Oh, look at that. It's right down the middle. He just can't putt, typically. But he's having a day today, and he had a day today, and that's we'll see. But this is kind of shaping up. There's some weird names in there, always is in the British Open, but then some guys that are charging, and that includes Florida State's own Brooks Koepka, who shot a 66 today. Dustin Johnson, last I checked, was playing well. I got to double check where he's at. I know Paul Casey played well today, shot a 67, is 5 under. So you got to get into that spot where you're somewhere in the general vicinity of, say, 8 strokes of the lead. Within 8 strokes of the lead, I guess I'd count that many people in it. Because clearly the ability to go low is out there today. Colin Morikawa shot a 64. Several guys shot 66 or 64 or 67. Well, actually, Agrio shot 64 today. So those are out there. The lower numbers are out there. A lot of 66, 67, 68, 66, 67. I'm looking at it. So this is going to be a fun weekend, man. What a fun weekend. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was just sitting here thinking again about what it is to be Louis Oosthuizen. You know, he bought a bunch of land in Ocala. He bought huge amounts of farmland in Ocala. I've told you my story when I was in Ocala and I ran into John Travolta.
Travolta?
He lives in Ocala. He's got a house in Ocala. He's a pilot. He flies out of there, and also he's got a horse farm or something. The locals will tell you they see him all the time, I guess, when he's there. I ran into him at a gas station. He was not wearing his wig. He was bald as it gets. And, so I was like, oh, that's John Travolta. We didn't talk. I didn't have time. But I think I'd be more excited to run into Louis Oosthuizen. My question to you is that if somebody in Ocala runs into Louis Oosthuizen at, like, the Busy Bee or something, like somewhere near there, right? And would they even know who that is? He's the most unassuming, non-famous looking, like average, dopey, kind of frumpy looking guy you've ever seen. I bet people won't even know. Louis could just walk around and nobody would bother him. God, I wish I could swing a golf club like that. I'll put it on loop. Just put it on loop over and over again. Just watch this guy do that over and over and over again. All right, yesterday, after the show, I got a tweet. Now, I want you guys to know I did my due diligence. I did the right thing. This is who I am. I'll come through for you. You guys on Twitter reached out to me knowing that I am a foremost expert in this realm. And that is whether or not somebody is living a lie. Whether or not somebody has decided to go down the dark path of getting a wig. It's come up a lot lately because of the man I encountered at the doctor's office. The picture I posted. I remain vigilant in vetting this, and some guys do have hair that, for whatever reason, looks as if it was snapped on, but isn't. Is their real hair. Others have guys have hair that you wouldn't believe to be a wig, but is. So you got to do your due diligence. Now, for years, the poster child for a guy who is sporting a wig and cares not what you think and doesn't care to really refine it and make it look all that realistic is Carl Ravitch. Famously host of Baseball Tonight on ESPN, just recently hosted the Home Run Derby. And every time you get a good look at Carl Ravitch, you go, look at my man. All these years later, just doesn't care that you know and I know and that we all know that thing is not real hair. Doesn't look like real hair. Doesn't have a hairline to speak of. Sometimes hovers a little bit in the back. But I think we may be on to something that's pretty interesting and something to look at very, very closely. And it was brought to my attention yesterday after Chris Vanini tweeted out that Mike Gundy, the head coach at Oklahoma State, who often says a lot of stupid things, was no longer sporting a mullet. Big 12 media days are underway, and he's not sporting a mullet. And he tweeted out a picture, a profile, and then beyond that it said, weirdly, it looks unusual. Ingram tweeted at me. You know Ingram Smith. He co-hosts the Nolecast with Bud Elliott. He reached out to me and said, at Jay Cameron Show, is that what I think it is? And I, while I was during the show, hosting the show, could not really dive in to this, but did look closely at just the initial photo and tweeted back, oh my, the investigation shall begin at 6 p.m. Now, it did, but it really began in earnest this morning. Caleb tweeted my first thought as well, but now that Jeff is on the case, we'll get to the truth. I like that I've become that guy for you guys. That when in doubt, send me the evidence and I'll begin our quest to get to the bottom of this misshapen hairpiece and or oddity of real hair. I don't know, right? Guys, it's not just the mullet that draws your attention or the lack thereof and screams, something's amiss. What you have to do when you're getting down to it, and Gundy arrived at Media Day for the Big 12 Media Days yesterday, the signature Arkansas waterfall flowing from the back of his head no longer there. The mullet was no more. He told SiriusXM Radio, it should grow back. I went in about a month ago and told Kathy, she's cut my hair for almost 20 years, just cut it so I don't have to cut it until the season is over. Told his boys when he got home that he wanted to change it up a bit. Didn't want to have to continue trimming the party in the back. Time spent maintaining it wasn't worth it. Quote, I've got a lot of things going on. Let's cut my hair to where we don't have to do it until the season's over. So here's where it gets into the meat and potatoes of all this, guys. This has become a fun story, okay? I take on your request to investigate, and I take it seriously. And here's what I have figured out. We may not come to a 100% conclusion on this today. I may take the weekend. I may, on Monday, along with announcing my next step career-wise, have an answer for you in addition to that. Could be a big Monday show. But I would tell you this. I see you, Mike Gundy. You know what Mike Gundy's doing? It's a little bit like the guy that needs the alibi. The guy that is planning on offing his wife, but ensures that a phone call is made at a time that is convenient for him. When phone records are checked, oh, it couldn't have been him. He was on the phone with Walter at 9:52. Around the time we think the murder occurred, he was 10 miles away on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Say a little louder. Yeah.
That's right. So Mike Gundy's telling you that he went to his barber. Nice move, Mike. He's telling you he got tired of trimming his hair, that it was too much maintenance during the season to have to worry about constantly having it cut, trimmed up. Mm-hmm. Is it, Mike? Your hair grows that fast, does it? You got to trim it up, do you? Get your hair cut from the same barber for 25 years. That's right, Mike. Is that true? She'll vouch for you, I bet, if we go to visit her, that you've gone in to see her for 25 years and she's still cutting your hair, right, Mike? Not just the back either. Mm-hmm. I like your effort, Mike, but I see through it. I've been through this. You see, one Tom Brady, and his hairstyle changes frequently. Some would say very frequently. It grows at an alarming rate and then suddenly is short and spiky and then long again. Magically. The trick when you are, in fact, living the lie, embracing the weave, or the all-out snap-on wig is to let others believe that you're in need of a haircut. That, in fact, you may have to go see your stylist, your barber. You may have to head to the salon. All this hair is overwhelming. I need to get it cut. I want to change it up a little bit. I'm stylistic. So as that none of us think, wait a minute, you don't have hair. I'm on to you, Mike Gundy. And I went and shopped the internet this morning to look at pictures from Big 12 Media Day. I needed more than just the side. And I found one in a story written by Kyle Boone. Kyle Boone, I think, writes for, what is this? This is some sort of Oklahoma State football site, Pistols Firing or some nonsense. And I saw a picture of him speaking to two reporters head on. You get the head on look. And I'm here to tell you that from a distance, at least right now, this looks like it is lacking a hairline up front. I think we're all going to come to the same conclusion here. It seems like an open and shut case. Mike Gundy, you, sir, are not, in fact, in any way sporting real hair. This has been nonsense, and I want to know for how long. See, the mullet was what was utilized to throw you off the track, and it worked. I got to give him credit. I never noticed the rest of that hair piece because I thought, well, the mullet, he's growing that out. That's a style. He'd wear a hat, and then you'd see the mullet, and you'd go, okay. The distraction was genius, but now we're on to you. It backfired. Getting it cut drew attention to the rest of that hairpiece, that helmet on your head. That's what happened. What a terrible misstep for a man who had deceived so well for so long. Add him to the list, gang. Until I can prove otherwise, add him to the list. The Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
And she could hear the highway breathing, and she could see an nearby factory. sense to wonder if I'm free.
After losing a bet, you have to pick between the following. Give a detailed presentation to Nick Saban on the benefits of Jeff Bowden's rainbow offense, or 2, teach Jimbo a foreign language. Oh, thanks, John. That's rich. That's good. That was fun to read. Yeah, we're going to go with teaching Jimbo a foreign language. Although he speaks a mile a minute. It's not that he's dumb. He's not dumb. He's just quirky. And
I'd go the opposite way. You're going to be there forever with Jimbo.
yeah,
The Saban thing, you just get up there and you're done with it.
and he's laughing at you.
Yeah.
I really don't like either choice. The detailed presentation is short, so maybe you're right. There ain't that many details.
You're in it for the long haul if you're trying to teach
A
Jimbo
language, yeah.
English.
We always would laugh. We'd read the transcripts, and people have to kind of make a decision to clean things up. There's so many non sequiturs in a Jimbo press conference. There's so many moments where you go, "What the hell?" It actually became an art form, and that is the beauty. I will say this: when Mike gets talking really fast, sometimes you kind of be like, "Oh, okay, I follow you here. All right, that relates to that. You haven't said anything about that in 5 minutes, but that's what you're okay, I got it." Actually, it's interesting. That's fascinating to me. So I was reading during the break. Let's get to this for a second because I was gonna bring this up at some point today. They have the 2022 college football recruiting class rankings on ESPN, and they do the ESPN Insider. It's Craig Hubbard. I don't care really what ESPN does with recruiting. It's not anything compared to what you see with Rivals and 247. But I went to it just because I wanted to see where they had Florida State, and they had predictably they had Ohio State and Alabama up there and LSU and Penn State's there and Michigan, actually Notre Dame surprisingly, but. I was going through this, and they had Florida State at 9, and I just wanted to read this. The Seminoles have had struggles at quarterback in recent years, but Mike Norvell has recruited his passer for the 2022 cycle in Duffy, a coach's kid who will arrive in Tallahassee from IMG Academy. He will bring good accuracy, but strong instincts, and come in hand ready to compete for playing time immediately. The Noles have landed one of the top defensive prospects in this class in Hunter, who possesses an excellent blend of speed, quickness, length, and toughness. The addition of number 1 athlete Sam McCall, who's an explosive player, can be sideline to sideline presence, can give the Noles 2 big-time playmakers in their secondary. Anyhow, so I read all of that just because I like feeling good about where we're going, damn it, in the world of recruiting. And I just got done lauding, and I talked about it some again today, what Mike Norvell has been able to accomplish, and in spite of what he inherited and what the record was a year ago in year 1, which is really kind of, this to me is really year 1, but it's not like we can't count what happened last year. We just have to understand the circumstances for which that record was produced. But I thought about something, and I think it might have to do with confidence. We talk about Jimbo's over-the-top speed-talking press conferences that were hard to kind of, like I said, a lot of non sequiturs, unfinished thoughts, just left out there into the ether. And if you were transcribing that, you had to make a decision. Do I write this as it was said? Because anybody reads this will have no idea what he's talking about. Or do I, over time, figure out exactly, his pattern of speech and understand that he's trying to say this? And when he circles back and talks about this, I'll put them together for him. I'll let people know, well, this was related to something said 7 minutes ago, but here's the complete thought if I married the two. And then in the middle there, he got sidetracked with society. So then, I understand I'll take the comments about society and I'll move them over here. They'll be their separate thing. And it'll be as if he completed his thoughts here and that in order it looked like this. Or did you just say, screw it, I'm going to throw it out there and let the people figure it out and laugh? Now, Mike Norvell is not anything close to that, but he does have a habit, and I've said this before, of speaking way too quickly, and that is usually born out of a lot of enthusiasm, but also, in addition to that, sometimes he doesn't want to have the conversation that you're asking him to have. And I don't mean that as in he's being elusive or diverting your attention or covering something up. It's that, listen, this is part of the gig. He just came off the field at practice. He's ready to be done, and he's not a lot to tell you, so he just kind of throws around some cliches and does so in rapid-fire succession. I've noticed something lately, though, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from him and talking with him again soon, because as he's been able to put his touches on this program and his blueprint and his fingerprint, I should say, on this program, and he feels like he's now steering it in the way that he wants it to go. Of course, they're nowhere near where they need to be, and he frequently references the amount of work still to be done, and that's smart, by the way. You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, as I've mentioned many times before. Managing expectations, being a realist, being somewhat, again, pragmatic, is important. It means that fans aren't delusional when they step into that stadium to watch that game against Notre Dame or anticipate this season. They're not walking in there thinking or having been promised something absurd like 10 wins. So you got to manage that. You got to massage that and handle that. But the only observation that I'll make in terms of speaking patterns and how it relates to confidence, because he's been able to do a good job of changing this roster, flipping this roster a little bit, and because he's had a full offseason, because he had those players during the spring out to his house where they got together and celebrated their efforts together in spring, and that he got to address the football team at his home and talk about how much their commitment means to him and how committed he is to them. And because I got to witness that and tell you that the reaction of those players was real, was authentic, and it was one of appreciation for him, his staff, and the work that they were doing that's necessary. Because all of that helps establish a direction and a belief in one another and guys pulling in the same direction, I think he's confident that they're going in the right direction, that they're both recruiting and succeeding, at least in terms of the work, on a day-to-day basis. They're moving in the right direction. He's slowed down. He's not talking a mile a minute right now. When you really look at it, he's always going to talk fast because he's an energetic guy. I talk fast. Lots of people talk fast. That's fine. But there's a difference between talking fast and not making a whole lot of sense as you speed race through this because you're distracted and you can't get focused because of all these other things that you want to be doing. And I think that speed came from not only his normal speaking pattern, but also the realization in his brain at all times that something else must get done and that there's not enough hours in the day. It should have been done yesterday, but it hasn't because I have all these other damn things to do. And so I am wasting my time, even though I know this is necessary, talking to you, answering questions to you about this player or that player or how practice went today. And I know I need to be contacting this guy and this guy and this guy, and we've got to prepare for this, and this. And last year we weren't. And how are we going to get this done? My God, tomorrow's another practice. Let's go. And it was just boom, 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 rapid fire, rapid fire. But I think they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish to a large degree in the spring. Then they had these weekends in which they hosted elite level players. I think overwhelmingly those were given their due diligence in terms of work and preparation, but also they were lauded by the players and their families. So those were celebrated and successful visits, and thus you see this top 10 ranking in terms of the class. I think they're number 6 right now in areas that you would care, sites that rank them. They're in a good place. Now you just got to secure that, right? And when the season will largely help dictate that. If you go out there and fall on your face, then some of those kids that have said yes will say no, even though a lot of them seem unwavering. But he has slowed down. That speech pattern has slowed down, and what I read into that is that he feels good. He feels very good and confident in addressing whatever you want to talk about because he thinks he's got it moving in the right direction. Thinks he has it at a place where he can be comfortable. Not satisfied, not, okay, everything is right and we're going to be fine. But, again, when you are going down the right path, when you are organized and prepared, really, you're not afraid to do it. This job is that way. Your job is that way out there. If you have a project or whatever it is you're working on, if you did your due diligence, if you put in the work, if your team's doing what you've asked of them, if you're part of that and you understand your role and you're confidently moving forward with it, if I come in here and I've done a requisite amount of reading and show prepping and outlining before I get in here and turn on the mic, I feel very confident that I'm going to be able to put together a 3-hour show that's worth your time and will be entertaining. I don't have to adhere to every word of it, but I know generally the gist of where we're headed. And that enables you to go forward with confidence. And I think that's why he's slowed down. Just a side note, I just thought about that. We were talking about that. It was an interesting question. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Just one place, my love.
weekend. That's about it. Save myself the mow. Forget about it. That's big. You know, since I was 10 years old, and I'm now 50, I have appreciated the beauty of a well-shorn lawn. Seeing mowed grass as we take a step back and look big picture. I do the thing that we make fun of with dads. I am that dad. I was at 10. The difference being that I wasn't a dad at 10. That would have been disturbing. But I do the thing where I finish and I try to get as far away from the finished product as possible. Go out onto the main road even that goes past my house. Stand back almost in my neighbor's driveway to gaze upon the beauty of a well-mowed lawn, and then to take in the smell of fresh-cut grass, which is still the best Yankee Candle there is.
Is that a dad thing? Is the mowed grass a dad thing? Because I had that feeling Wednesday. Because the person I rent the place I live at from, he takes care of the lawn maintenance, so it's just randomly when I come home.
And you saw it.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
All right.
I bet you wish. That's the one downside of renting. I bet you wish you could mow your lawn.
Yeah.
You want to do it. There's a need in all of us as men to mow a lawn. Hey, now. And I'm just telling you, I sit back and I go, oh, look at that. Would you look at that? And I say all the things, all the ridiculous things. Boy, really, that's well done. Look at the lines there. It's like there's a rhythm to it, you know. Not herky-jerky, no zigzag, none of that nonsense. We've got it. It's up one way, down the other here, back up. It looks like we're standing on the diamond. You know, I want to take it to the next level. I want to get one of those weighted mat things where I mow and I could actually do some sort of star-studded design in my lawn. Nothing crazy. I don't want to be over the top.
It would just be the Pirates logo.
Yeah, but I did it yesterday. And I'll tell you another aspect that I like. When you finish mowing a lawn, one of the great things is afterwards, if you have dogs, and I have 2, if you have dogs, letting them out, they get so excited. They're like little kids. They join the enthusiasm that you have. They share it. They go out there, and they're looking at you like, good job, Dad. That's what you do. Good work. Good work. This didn't smell great. This is great. I'm going to run around. I'm going to run around out here for a little bit. I'm going to pee on this grass. It feels like I should pee on this grass. You go ahead and pee on that grass. I'll join you. I'll pee on the grass with you, dogs. Let's go. Let's all pee on the grass.
Howdy, neighbor.
Yeah. Good times. And then, God forbid, you do what I did yesterday. You mow the lawn. You let the dogs out so they can run around and share in your appreciation. And then afterwards, you walk back in. You get your keys. You drive up to the local seafood market. You pick you up some fish and some shrimp. I also picked up some asparagus while I was out. Brought it back, fired up the grill next to the freshly shorn grass, so I've got the smell of fresh cut grass coupled with the grill. I may have popped a cold beer in that moment because I was catching up on the British Open in the background on my 83-inch television. So it's like, does it get better than this? It's a little bit of Field of Dreams. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. That was me yesterday on the back porch. Just sort of I do have a beer in my hand. It is cold. It is local. It is tasty. That is a massive television that I am looking at through my Florida room window. This grill is operating very efficiently. That grass is cut. These 2 dogs are very loving. This is a good day. This is a good day. So I just thought you should know that. Because now you go home on a Friday, and there's nothing really to do but enjoy yourself. Maybe walk in, turn the air down low, kick on a fan, crank up the music a little bit. Let's start the weekend. But in order to do it, why don't we get to some probables? Cue it up, sir.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
What's the deal with the TBD on your Phillies? Marlins Phillies today. They got no real time. What do we?
Yeah, we had I think there's an issue with the scheduling of a doubleheader. I think it's 4 and 7, But
Yeah, you got a 405, so the other one's to be determined. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, I see. What the hell's going on? A little doubleheader for you. What a good Friday. Because that first game's being played right now. We'll get off in time for you to see the end, and then you settle in for the next game. Mets Pirates. My Buccos split a 4-game set up in New York. Mets fans were all over me on Twitter, and then we just bounced back and won the next 2 and told them to suck it.
that's not. That's shortly after almost sweeping the Braves.
That is true. Yeah, Pirates aren't any good at all, but for whatever reason, they have risen up to play pretty well against some of the decent teams out there as of late. Probably won't tonight. I don't like this matchup. Not a good matchup for the Buccos tonight in Pittsburgh. Beautiful PNC Park. Oh man, overlooking the Allegheny, the Monongahela, the Ohio Rivers. Oh, buddy, walking across the Clemente Bridge. Get you a tasty beverage behind home plate, overlook the skyline of the city, and watch the Pirates rise up to beat the Mets, perhaps. 7:05 first pitch. Marcus Stroman on the hill for the Metropolitans. Chad Kuhl for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Padres, Nats, Chris Paddock, Eric Feedy. Red Sox, Yankees, yeah, they're going to play it. Yankees are COVID-ridden because their players are morons and don't believe in science. Rangers, Blue Jays, Jordan Lyles, Robbie Ray. Brewers, Reds, Adrian Hauser, Tyler Mahal. Twins, Tigers, Kenta Maeda, and to be determined. Rays, Braves. We'll have that game for you right here on 97.9 and ESPN Radio. Michael Wacha going to pitch for the Rays. The Braves will throw Charlie Morton, still out here whooping ass. Charlie Morton's going to pitch till he's 50 and be good. He's 8-3 with a 3.5. Man, I mean, my guy, 114 strikeouts. Just go ahead. Do your thing, Charlie. He was in Pittsburgh forever. Wasn't that great? Of course he wasn't. Orioles, Royals. He didn't suck in Pittsburgh. Don't get me wrong. Keegan Aiken, TBD for the Royals. A lot of TBDs out there. People don't know what the hell they're doing. Astros, White Sox, Lance McCullers Jr., and TBD. You had the entire All-Star break. What are we doing? Guys, it's game day. Jesus, it is. Who do we pitch? Giants, Cardinals, Kevin Gausman, Adam Wainwright, Dodgers, Rockies. At least these teams kind of know who the hell they're throwing. Julio Urias. Urias is good. He's really good. He's been good for a while, man. I like watching his stuff, too. Antonio Centinela going to go for the Rockies. We've got the Mariners and the Angels. Chris Flexen, great name. Good pitcher. Andrew Haney going for the Angels, not a good pitcher. Cubs, D-backs, Kyle Hendricks, and Madison Bumgarner. Indians, A's, Eli Morgan. Sounds like an insurance agent.
Eli Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Right. Well, that would be an attorney. Yeah, I feel like Eli Morgan, you're going to... Well, I'll meet you at 7. I got to swing by Eli Morgan's office. I got to clear something up. A's, Chris Bassett. And that's a look at those that shall rise out of the bump.
So we could wash away, so that we may start anew.
Should note those probables were brought to you by our friends at North Florida Payroll Services. North Florida Payroll Services, locally owned for nearly 15 years, offering payroll and HR services, including full online applicant onboarding and integration into payroll. Save your company money and headaches today. Head to northfloridapayroll.com. All right. Hey, saw Nomadland last weekend, buddy. Got any movie suggestions for me this week? Anything? I saw Nomadland. I liked it. It was fine.
I haven't seen a movie in
A while. You had a kid. Once you have a kid, that's it. Movies go out the window. Well, actually, one of two things happens when you have a kid, let alone multiple kids. Either you just stop going to movies because that's not something you can spend your time on. Your time is accounted for. You don't have 2 hours, 2.5 hours at any point to yourself to watch a movie. And if you do, you're exhausted. So you just like, I won't be in the right mood for this. You got to lock in if you're watching a serious film that doesn't have, it's not mindless action. It's not a stupid superhero movie, but like you actually have character development and real dialogue and things that matter. So if you're going to sit and do that, you got to have your wits about you. You got to have some energy to focus.
And actually, I lied. I watched a couple years too late, but Knives Out. On
Oh,
your
that's
suggestion.
a great movie.
Yeah,
That's a great movie. Yeah. Okay, good. You saw that one. And it was a good one. You loved it.
it was very
It's
good.
worth
yes.
seeing twice. It's worth seeing again. We loved it too. We watched it as a family. But one of two things happens. Either you watch no movies or you watch all the movies because you're home a lot and you're not out and about anymore. You got the kid. You might as well. They're in bed. All right, screw it. Throw on a movie. I'll figure something out. Good work out of you, sir, as always. Thanks to all of you who listened. I hope you guys have a great week. And don't forget, on Monday, I will be revealing the future plans of the Jeff Cameron Show. I will be on the air. I'm not going to make you wait. It's not some dramatic tease. Monday, on the air, I will talk to you about what's happening with the Jeff Cameron Show. I'm excited to have this conversation. I really appreciate that a lot of you have been reaching out and asking the question. It's nice to know that people care. It's nice to know that people want to know where they can find your work. And on Monday, I will tell everybody where that is and how that's going to work. And my enthusiasm for that announcement is over the moon. I'm really, really excited about what we've been working on. And I've been working on this since we knew that ESPN, the station here that I work for, would be sold and then eventually was sold. And we'll be here for the foreseeable future in terms of we'll be here to broadcast next week, obviously. And I'll have more plans to let you know about as we go along. But, yeah, good stuff, and I'm really excited to reveal that to you Monday. So just another reminder, make sure you're tuned in. Have a great weekend. Be well, everybody. Be good. Good to talk with you as always, and we'll do it again on Monday. Take care.